Facebook and Tumblr fans. It is time for another album review. This time we are going to be talking about Skillet's new album, Rise, that actually drops and hits the shelves tomorrow. So, this album can be summed up in just 3 words: Awake Part 2. So a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but, hear me out. I actually personally kind of like most of the material on Awake. My problem with Awake does not stem with the kind of songs or the songs themselves. It just stems from the lack of variety, moreover, on that album. It's fucking 3/4 of the songs are just really slow songs, really ballady, kind of softer, more melodic songs, but for an album to work, it has to have consistency. And they're kind of going off in that same direction with Rise, unfortunately, with just the lack of variety in the song structures, and a lot of them come off sounding really popish and really formulaic. So a lot of the times, though, that's not a bad thing, because it does contain many heavy hitters, like on Comatose, which in my opinion is the perfect balance. And it has the really heavy songs, it has the more rock oriented songs that are up there but still just kind of on the slower side, and it has the really melodic kind of ballads as well as the softer songs. So it's just got a little bit of everything. I really like the consistency on Comatose as well as just the songs themselves and the production, which on Rise is seemingly thin. So Comatose and Awake really surprised me because they have this production that sounds really full, really heavy, and it just pops out. It seems really, like I said, full is really the best way to describe it. And on this one, it just seems very thin and very just kind of, underneath everything. So kind of pushed back a bit. Everything just seems a bit quieter, a little bit, not really, kind of on the back burner a little bit. Like, production really wasn't one of the main things they were looking at. So doesn't really mean that it's a bad album per se, but my favorite album by Trivium, In Waves, a lot of people shit on that album because of the production. I think it's a good album. But anyways, so this album, Rise, begins with, of course, the title track, Rise. And really, really good song, Comatose era driven, really guitar, a lot of guitars in there, a lot of different violins, a lot of synthesizers a little bit in the beginning, and it just sounds really good, especially with the children chanting the chorus, Rise and Revolution. So that sounds really good. And there's this little sound bit in the end where it's like a news recording or something, but it fits the song perfectly. So this is going to be a little bit of a theme where they have different sound bits in the end. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's the thing. It's consistency with this album. That's pretty much its only fault. So next one is Sick of It, and this is a pretty good song. It actually returns to more of the technological kind of industrial sound that Skillet once had back in the early 90s, or the later 90s, up till 2003's Collide. So it has a lot of those elements in it, and my only problem with this song is, while it is very heavy, while it's really a good song, vocal-wise and everything, it tends to get a tad bit formulaic, and therefore ends up sounding kind of repetitive in its own right, but it is a good song overall, and I do enjoy listening to it. So the next one, Not Gonna Die, no, Good to Be Alive. This one's a popish song, and it really didn't take my attention. It didn't really grab my attention. It doesn't have a kicker. It just, no motivation. It just sounds like, any other pop song that you'd hear on the radio. So it's got a good structure. It's got a good, kind of warm tone to it, but not really my kind of music. It's very popish. And then, of course, it has the sound bit at the end after about a minute of silence, and it's just like, okay, I can understand if you want the album to flow nicely into each other, but sometimes you want to put the sound bit at the beginning of another song, except, as opposed to at the end of something after the long silence. So it didn't really go and fit well with that. And the next song, of course, is Not Gonna Die, which at the end of Good to Be Alive, they had the sound bit, and it was leading into Not Gonna Die, and it would have sounded good had it been in the beginning of Not Gonna Die. I mean, it begins with, the traditional violin that was found on Awake and Comatose, so sounds like anything that you'd find on there. I mean, the production on this song, though, it really rubs off in a negative light, though. I mean, it just sounds like it's kind of in the background a little bit, like the guitars and everything in the mix is just kind of a little bit off on this one. It's a very good song overall. The singing, the drumming, and the guitars are really good. I especially like, you know, Jen Ledger's voice, the vocals, the backing vocals of the, I believe she's the drummer. She's the new drummer since Awake, and she's definitely gotten a little bit better. She's improved her vocals a lot since Awake. It actually kind of, you know, I didn't really like her vocals at first. They take some getting used to, but on Awake especially. But with this one, it's just really smooth, really nice. Really like the song, and it really flows nicely with John Cooper's, you know, really gritty, gravelly voice. So that one's a good one. Next one is probably one of my favorites. Circus for a Psycho. It opens up with a riff that just sounds so reminiscent of Thunderstruck, it's not even funny. It's really good. It's basically what I can describe as Monster with a Thunderstruck riff. So, and it's faster than Monster, of course, and then it has the kids chanting. So, you know, Psycho, here we go. It just sounds really good. Everything just flows really nicely. The structure is very sound. It doesn't come off sounding too commercial or too mainstream or anything like that. It's just, you know, a hardcore balls out Skillet song. It's a really good one. Then the album kind of takes a turn for the worse with American Noise. This was the second single. I was almost thinking about making a video of this and, of course, Sick of It before Rise came out, saying, you know, the two songs are really formulaic, and I hope that Skillet doesn't continue in this direction with the rest of the album. I hope it's not like this. But you know what? Then Rise came out and pretty much rejuvenated any hope I had for this album. And I'm glad, because it is actually a pretty decent album. However, this song is just pop, mainstream crap, basically. I'm sorry. Okay, some of the lyrics are good, and it's a very heartwarming song, and I can see definitely see what they were doing. But once they got to the la 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 da 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 da, I mean, Skillet is so much better than that. Most people use those filler words and onomatopoeia sounds just when they can't think of lyrics to go there. And it's just like, I've seen the lyrics on this, you know, on this entire album. They're very uplifting, they're very positive, and just, you know, they're very good in their own right, as I said before. And for them to just throw it all away on this song with those filler words is just really disappointing. So overall, the sound of the production on this one, as I said, overall, it's just a very thin production on the album. You know, it doesn't really make a difference on this song, but, you know, then we get to Madness in Me, which is a very, very formulaic song. It ends up sounding like a less inspired Sick of It, more so, and it's very formulaic. I didn't really care for it too much. It sounds good. The guitar tone is very well sound in this one, so it's probably my favorite part about it, but that's really my only part that I like. So Salvation, this one's alright. I mean, not really one of my favorites, but like I said, Jen Ledger's vocals are very good on this one, so that's one of my favorite parts of it. So then we get to Fire and Fury. This is another one of my favorites. It's a little bit of faster track. Doesn't really have much for guitars, but as far as like speed goes and vocal abilities and just like a combination of like the structure and the production, it just comes off sounding like a really sound song. Really good. And the next one, of course, is My Religion. Not my least favorite. That will go to American Noise. But this one, My Religion, it's too simplistic. I don't know what they were going for with this one. It's just an all over the place kind of thing. It's a very slow song, and they're not even being discreet. They're being just too obvious with their preaching vocals. I mean, like, I know that Skillet is a religious and a Christian hard rock band, but what I really liked about Skillet in the first place was their ability to be discreet with their vocals, or with their lyrics, discreet with their lyrics, and make it so that it could be about anything else. Like, someone who's atheist could listen to this and say, yeah, it's about, you know, something else. You know, it's just, they're way too just out there with their lyrics, too upfront and obvious, per se. So, and just the structure of it is just very kind of, dare I say, bluesy, but just very disjointed and very slow. So definitely one of the worst tracks on the album by far. Next one, of course, is Hard to Find and What I Believe. So these ones are really good. Hard to Find sounds like something you could find on Awake, as my friend Logan Moore said. So check out his review too. Probably posted in the description. So he's a big Skillet fan. There's a shout out for you. Iron Metal 222, I believe. So if I got your numbers wrong, then sorry, I'll put it in an annotation. But anyways, so Battle Cry, the pop song. Everything Goes Black. This one's another kind of one of those filler tracks. And Freak Show. This one's actually a pretty good closer. Actually, what I believe is the original closer, but Battle Cry through Freak Show are bonus tracks. And I can definitely see why they left them off the album, because they wouldn't really fit the continuity of Rise. So, that being said, I'm going to give Rise probably, I don't know, probably like 7.5, 8 out of 10. I can't really decide. I'll go 7.5. I mean, it's a good album, and it's got some really good songs. I mean, really good songs, such as Rise, Circus for a Psycho, which is one of my favorite Skillet songs. But then it's got some of my least favorites, such as American Noise and My Religion, and just some of those ones. Madness in Me was just eh. And it's got a lot of those really popish, just really experimental flavors to it that just really don't sound appealing to at least my ears personally. So, like I said, 7.5 out of 10. This is a good album, especially if you're a Skillet fan, to check out. But I don't know if you guys are gonna like all the different flavors that they put into it. So overall, you'll at least find a few songs that you'll like. So if not, like half the album. So I really enjoyed it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments section below. This is Midnight Strike 3625. 7.5 out of 10. Keep calm and rock on.